So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start by saying why we're here. We're here to learn how to get our classes and students set up for day one with ReadTheory. And let's take me through everybody on the schedule here. All right, let's see. So our schedule for today is for these first few minutes, I'm going to introduce myself, ReadTheory, and our learning goals for this time together. Then the largest chunk of time is we are going to go ahead and look at how to actually go through the nuts and bolts way of setting up your classes in ReadTheory. And then I'll take some time at the end for questions and we'll wrap it up. Okay, great. So let's get started today. Who am I? Presenting today. So my name is Sean Mornigan. I have been in education for a while now. I got my start working at a small school in Florida for students with special needs. I've worked as a behavioral therapist for children with autism, adults with autism. I've worked as an elementary school teacher, a middle school teacher, a high school teacher. I have worked at a home for adults with special needs, providing them educational resources there. So I come to this really fully appreciating the wide variety of experiences that our teachers and our students come from. I have worked in Florida, California, and I'm currently in North Carolina in all these different educational roles. So I also have a sense of different socioeconomic abilities or levels. And so I hope I'll be able to speak to your situation today. Okay. And then why are we here? What is ReadTheory? So the way I like to think about and talk about ReadTheory is that it's like a magic workbook. So wouldn't it be great if you had a workbook that automatically graded itself? ReadTheory does that. Wouldn't it be great if you had a workbook that you could hand out to all students, and if they were reading at the 4th grade level or the 6th grade level, it would change the assignment based on their ability level? Well, that's ReadTheory. And then wouldn't it be great is once they finish the assignment, the workbook automatically told you what their strengths and weaknesses are? ReadTheory. So it is hands off. ReadTheory really handles everything for you so that as a teacher, you can really focus on getting into their data, seeing what their reading ability is and where they need help. And that way you can change your instructional practices in the moment in the classroom or at home in the digital classroom for each individual student. All right. Let's go ahead. And let's talk about our learning goals for today. I'm an educator. We have to have learning goals. So really 2 quick, easy learning goals for today. Number 1, participants will be able to set up classes and student accounts. That is why you're here, and that's what I hope to accomplish for you today. And number 2, participants will feel comfortable working independently on ReadTheory. I know as far as learning goals go, that one's a little wishy or washy, not smart, measurable, but hopefully we can spend some time together in the Q&A at the end and really get a feel and a sense for each other on where we are. Okay. So with that said, I will go ahead and just move us into the actual nuts and bolts of the webinar today. I will try to slow down how fast I am speaking. I will do what I can. If I'm speaking too fast, please just do a Sean, you're doing great. Maybe slow down a little bit in the chat. Okay, so here we go. There are 3 ways to set up your classes. Number 1, you can use the class code option. Number 2, you can manually input all your students' information. And number 3, you can use the .csv import tool that we have. Each one of these has their own plus and minus, which I'll go over and I'll guide you through so you actually get to see what this looks like when you log in. Okay, so the very first one we're going to talk about today is the class code. The class code is a unique 8-digit code that will allow accounts that are created by students previously or in the moment to link with your teacher account. So the big plus with this is that the students are going to do the work for you. They'll create their own accounts, set up their own passwords and usernames. If they want to use login with Google, they can use that with this option. It is super hands-off for the teacher. And this option is available at any point. So students with existing accounts, they can always go ahead and link to you using that class code. The downsides, this is somebody with a background in education at all levels. The students are in control. That can be a good or a bad thing. And you also will lose any uniformity that you might have in how they format their username. If you want to keep things nice and standardized across all your students, then this might not be the option for you. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. When you log in for the first time, you are going to be taken to the setup class page. And so that's where I'm going to start with sharing my screen with you today. So here we go. Great. Okay, so you've gone to set up your account and you're ready to set up your first class. So you're going to say, this is the best class. Hopefully you only have one class. Otherwise, some people are going to be upset. You're going to select a grade. This is optional. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a first grade class and hit enter. Boom, done. And now you've got your class code. Your class code is right here. You can go ahead. It will automatically copy to your clipboard. And what's really nice about our system is if you hit this button or select that, what's actually copied is a link that you can post on your Google Classroom or your Classroom website, that if a student follows it, it'll take them to the sign up page and that class code will be automatically entered for them. Okay, so that's really it for setting up that type of account. So what I want to show you real quickly right now is I want to show you what it looks like for a brand new student to utilize the class code. So I'm going to go ahead and log out of my ReadTheory teacher account here. And I'm going to go to sign up. I'm a brand new student. This is my first time doing it. Now, I'm not going to interrupt myself too many times, but this is a great question. If a student already has an account from last year, they would log in instead of sign up, and they'll have an opportunity to input the class code at that point. All right, but I'm going to show you a student is signing up for the first time here. Now, they could click the sign in with Google button if they've never done that before, or they can go ahead and create their new student account. So I'm going to say student for you today, and the password. Great. And now you'll see right here, they have the spot to put their class code. If I input that class code, the students input that, they're automatically sorted into the class that you set up, which is wonderful. But unfortunately, student for you today got so excited to set up his ReadTheory account, he absolutely forgot to input that class code. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Student for you today, he selected that he is 6 years old. He forgot to input his class code. Oh no, it was right there. Why didn't he do it? Why can't students ever follow instructions? I'm sorry, I don't think I have the ability to make this screen any larger. I apologize. All right, now, if student for you forgot to input your class code, or let's say student for you's already been a longtime ReadTheory user, they can go ahead and click the My Teachers page. They're going to have to enter their name if they've never done so before, and then they'll have the option to input the class code right there. Okay, and I can hit Join Class. Now, if the student has an existing account, they can log in and do this, or if it's a new account and they forgot to input the all How's that? Thanks, Meg. Appreciate it there. Okay, and now you can see, boom, I am connected to that class. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, great. So that is option number one. The students do all the work for you. They set their username, they set their password, and that is it, okay? So that has a lot of benefits. It's quick and easy. It takes the onus off of the teacher, but the downside is that you lose that uniformity that I know I really appreciate. Okay, I'm gonna try to go ahead and log back in there in a second. It looks like it's mad at me for some reason. Okay, so the next thing I want to take you guys through is to actually show you how to manually input. Now, this one has the same sort of pros and cons. Did I lose? Sorry, everybody. Trying to navigate multiple windows here. Just want to make sure you can see what I see. Okay, so the teachers have control of everything in this, which is a big plus. They can set the passwords, they can set the usernames, and this type of entry is going to be available to you throughout the whole time you're using ReadTheory. And so that is a big plus as well. Let's see here, ReadTheory teacher. Okay, now the downside of this is that it will take time, and that is just the absolute truth here. And so it's going to take time for you to set this up, and you know, yeah, sorry, I apologize that I've stumbled here. I'm just having a quick little bit of time here trying to get logged back in to show you the rest of this. All right, let's do. Okay, I'm almost ready, folks, I promise. I know I'm not. Okay, now I'm ready to show you what this will actually look like. So I'm going to take you right back all the way to the class setup screen that we started with. So here we are, and hopefully you can see that really well. Great. And I've made it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is just class 1. They are not the best class, sadly. I'm going to select the grade for them. And I'm going to say that some students are under 13. I'm going to create my class. Now you can see I still have the class code option. That is not something that ever goes away. But I can also now click Add Manually. Adding manually is the way that you'll be able to create all these accounts. So this is Johnny. Let's go ahead and put in their first initial, Johnny Smart Brain. And if you want, you have the option to put their parent email or their district email right there. Great. And then it'll auto-generate a username for them and a password for them. Now that can be really nice, or you can go ahead and say you want to change it to something simpler for that student. You click Add New Student, and you start it all over again. Okay, so this is going to be, it's going to be Little John Smart Brain. And that's really it. It'll create automatically a username for them, passwords will be generated, and then when I click Save and Continue, it will create the accounts. And now I can go to my Students page, and boom, there we are. Little Johnny Smart Brain are both in my class 1, and that's all set up. Now, what's nice about this option too is that the username and the password for both these accounts that I set up were automatically emailed to the email I have on record. Okay. And so that can be a good thing in a remote setting. It might be a concern because you'll then have to communicate all these usernames and passwords to students. And so that is just something to keep in mind. Again, if you have questions that you want me to address at a later point, try, if you can, to put them into the Q&A mode instead of the general public chat so they don't get lost in the noise. Great. All right. So now let me go ahead and switch back and we'll talk about our final method here. Our final method for taking us through and inputting and creating new classes. All right, so our last one, and this is my favorite because I find it to be the easiest and simplest to use. This is the CSV option. So basically, if you already have a list with your students' first and last names, well, you don't have to retype them. You can copy and paste them into an Excel spreadsheet. We give you the template, and then that gets sent over to us. And it automatically fills in all their information. I love it. It allows you to quickly set custom passwords, have consistent formatting, deal with any errors or issues. The only downside is that it requires basic Excel proficiency. No judgment. Some people just don't have it. And it requires attention to detail. So you got to make sure you actually save the file as a CSV again. Excel will try to save it into an Excel workbook. You got to actually tell it, hey, save it as a CSV still, please. And you've got to make sure that your information is input in the correct fields. Otherwise, you'll get an error message from us, or something won't be populated correctly. That's all. Okay, so let me take you through what that would look like. And I'll actually try to walk you through the whole process with inputting so you can actually see what the Excel spreadsheet looks like too. All right. So I'm going to share my screen with you again now. Great. So over here, this is the really best class for real this time. Okay. I'm just so proud of this second grade class. Some of them are under 13. And then I'm going to go to add manually. Now in this time, instead of just inputting the information directly, I'm going to import from CSV. All right. So importing from CSV, I'll be able to click on that and then download an example CSV file. I'm going to do that now. Boom, downloaded. Isn't that nice? Now I'm going to open up this CSV file to show you what it looks like and how to input the information and everything, just so you get familiarized with it. So just give me 1 second to share that part of my screen with you. All right, let's go ahead and share that part of my screen with you. Great. So now you can go ahead and see. Let me go ahead and zoom in here. You really just have a few fields to fill out. So we can see here that you've got email, username, password, first name, and last name. That's really it. The only ones that are absolutely required by our system are the first name, last name, and then we can do the rest of the work for you. But I really like having control over this. So I can go ahead and say, my name is Sean Thompson. And then I like being able to say that, you know, S. Thompson's going to be the username. What's nice about this, especially if you want to keep logging in really nice and easy, you can set up a password that is standard or semi-standard for all of your students. So for example, if I had 15 students, I could set them all up with a password that was only different by one number. Or I can go ahead and set them up with a password that is all the same. And Excel makes it really nice and easy to do that. Okay. But again, the only absolutely required piece of information here are going to be the first and last name. If you want uniformity and you want to make sure everything stays looking really clean, this is a great way to do it. And I like this option because if I have a class list already, I can select all their names, copy it into the spreadsheet, and I save myself some time. Okay. And then as far as going back, I'm going to go ahead and show you what that would look like. Let me go ahead real quick. I know I've stopped sharing my screen with you just for a second here, because I just want to make sure I'm able to show you what it looks like when you actually go ahead and input that. All right. So thanks for bearing with me, everybody. Let's see, desktop. Okay, so I'm going to go back and share my screen with you one more time. This time, so you can see what it looks like. All right, so I would go ahead and click upload CSV file. I'd then be taken to my standard, browser for all of my documents, and I would be able to select that import file, and boom, there it goes, automatically set up for me right there. If I have any issues, I can still edit it in this field here, and otherwise I can go ahead, save and continue. Oh no, my username was taken. No big deal. I can go ahead and make any changes I need to right in that moment. And that's it. All right. So going back to the presentation here, those are our 3 main methods of inputting information. Now, there are always going to be 2 general concerns that I see a lot, so I wanted to address those before we break out into our Q&A session here. Common concern about Google login. I want my students to use Google login, but I already set up accounts for them. Or my students set up their own accounts, but they aren't set up for Google login. How do I fix this? This is actually pretty easy to solve. So the way you resolve that is you just have to know the rules of our system. The username and email just need to match, and then they'll be able to use Google login. So even if they've set up their account previously, even if they've set up, with their previous teacher, something like that, they should be able, as long as they can log in, they can update their information on the settings menu within their account to make sure that their username and email match, okay? And the other main question that we get here, let me just go on here, is that my students have existing accounts. Well, how do I handle this? My students, I'm trying to input their email and username and it comes up as taken. What do I do? And this also gets to one of the questions that I saw in the chat of, can we transfer students over year by year? The answer and the solution to that is yes, with the class code. So all the students have to do is just log into their account and input the class code that you have. And if I can go ahead and show you where to find your class code at any point, I'm just going to share my screen with you real quick, and it's on the My Classes page right here up at the top. And let me go ahead and seriously zoom in there. You'll be able to see your class code, okay? Now, we're going to be making some updates and changes to our interface in the coming months, so we're going to make this even easier to find for you. But now you absolutely know where the class code is. And again, all they have to do is input that. All right. So let me go ahead and back to our presentation here. And this is the big one. If your students can't log in, if you're having issues, just send a message to support@readtheory.org. We will help. That is a royal we. I will help you. I promise. I'll do my best to get back to you as fast as I can. We always have an email turnaround of under 24 hours. And if you've ever had issues with Read Theory or had a question about us, you've probably gotten a message from me in the past. Okay. All right. So let's do a quick learning goals check-in. Participants will be able to set up classes and student accounts. I hope that this is a solid thumbs up yes from you. 3 main ways: class code, super fast for students. If you're doing remote learning only, it might be a great option for you. Number 2, manual entry. That's going to be your default always. And last, .csv. If you struggle to turn on the DVD player, don't use the .csv option. Stick with the manual entry or the class code. All right, that is your hot tip, hot take from me. Okay, and now for our second learning goal, we said that participants will feel comfortable working independently on Read Theory. So that takes us to our second part of today, which is just, what are your questions? What are your concerns? What are your nagging doubts? How can I help? So I'm going to look in the Q&A mode right now, and I'm going to start just seeing if I can pull up questions that people have asked. So let's start with this question here. Does that work? I'm assuming class code. If they already have an account from last year, yes, students can be associated with multiple teachers at one time. So if you co-teach, your co-teacher will set up an account, they'll have a class code. You'll set up an account, you'll have a class code. Student inputs your class code, hits enter, inputs the co-teacher's thing, and hits enter again. Boom, done. So there's no reason why a student who had an account last year can't connect that account to you. Great. So that was our first question. Thank you, Eden. Next question. Can they use Google sign-in? So I think I covered this in there, but just to reiterate, the only thing you need to do to make sure a student can use Google sign-in is make sure their username is the same as their email address. As long as they've done that, boom, they can log in with Google sign-in. All right. And if at any point they made a mistake, create an account, you created an account, they can always go ahead and modify that from within the settings menu in their account. All right, let's move along here. Let's see, does ReadTheory track time spent or only task completion? It's a great question. Thank you, Lynn. So one of the things we're doing is we're currently building new features for the website. Some of these will be made available to everyone, and some of them will be things that we begin offering to as like premium options. And so this is one of those things that we're considering for a premium subscription. We are aware we do not plan on changing our base service at all. Just want everybody to know ReadTheory is going to be free this year. It's going to be free as for as long as we anticipate and plan. This is just talking about an additional premium option. So nothing in our base service would ever change. This is something that we're considering. Right now, it only shows task completion. It doesn't say time on task, but that's something that we've been asked a lot about. And so we're really looking into it. Okay. I see this question. Can you customize the class code? Not yet, but that's a really good idea. And I know a guy. So I will see about updating if that's going to be possible in a future update. That's a great question. New feature, under the age of 13. This is a legal distinction. We have to handle data differently depending on if a student is under 13 or over 13. This has to do with federal regulations. And so we're required to ask. It's the same thing that anytime you're visiting a website, say it's certifying I'm over 13. That's all that you're doing. That's all that we're doing. Great question. Thanks, Mike. I have 2 sections of a grade level. Is it better to have 2 classes in ReadTheory if I'm using the same content for each class? How would that integrate with Google Classroom? So we have 2 questions. First part, creating the classes just allows you to sort your students so that it's really easy to view their data. And if you'll just bear with me one sec, I would like to show you what that looks like. I don't have any data on this, but you can see the progress report page. And so I'll go ahead and share that with you. So this right here is your progress report page. And if you had all of your students on this one page, it might make it a little unwieldy to view all the graphs, all the students on these graphs. So if you had 50 students on this one graph, that would get a little unwieldy. So I'd recommend splitting them up. And as far as the same content, ReadTheory assigns everybody an individualized curriculum. And so they would be able, they're all going to be receiving their own content. So there isn't any reason to sort them together if you don't want to. The second one is integrating with Google Classroom. This is something we're looking into. Right now, we integrate with Google Sign-In, but we haven't been able to successfully fully integrate to Google Classroom yet. So it's something that we're working on and something that we're considering. So thank you. That is a great question there. All right. Let's see. So I've already answered this question. Can students still log in with Google? Yes, as long as they do that. Let's see, Sean. This is great. We need a community online to reach out to others who are using your site. Or is there one already? What a great question. So this would actually be wonderful. So we are on social media. We have a Facebook page. On Twitter, our handle is @ReadTheory. And we have thousands of followers on those. And people share how they're utilizing ReadTheory in their classroom. So that'd be a good one to just real quick hit follow us on those things. And we would also ask you to please reach out to others and set up a community. We're also working on creating additional resources on our site itself, where we actually offer tips and tools that have been generated by teachers. So I'd like to show you that just real quick, if you'll bear with me. So we can see the Teachers Lounge, and depending on the size of the screen, this would appear like this. And you can also see different resources we have that have been generated by other educators. So these are different things that we have available on our site that we're trying to create a community where we provide you with real resources that you can use. These are articles written by our staff, by teachers, and we're really trying to make this a true digital learning platform where teachers are engaged with new content. And so you can see here, you've got new remote learning options that you'll be able to access there. All right, great question. Can you roll over a class to the next teacher? So I briefly touched on this, but all it comes down to is making sure your students are able to log in and then enter the class code. That's as easy as it can be. What I recommend always is, if you know you have ReadTheory being used throughout your building, at the end of the year, have all of the teachers set all the students' passwords to like one common password. And that way, when the school year starts, every student will be able to log in and be able to enter that class code for you. Great question. All right, let's see here. As a multi-grade teacher, should I create separate accounts for my 3 different grade levels or make one big class? This goes back to the question that we saw earlier. This one is really just about, how do you want to view the data? Because students will be getting an individualized curriculum. They'll all be seeing their own adapted just for them curriculum. And so 2 students in the same class will not be reading the same article at the same time because they're not at the same level necessarily. So it's really just a personal preference and how easy it is to view the data on the graphs. All right, let's see here. Okay, I was asked, can you search, sorry, this question isn't publishing. Can you search a subject matter and choose an article on ReadTheory? No. Nope. ReadTheory is entirely adaptive. We choose the next article for your students and for your class. Is this a feature we're considering? Is this something that we're looking into? Absolutely, yes. It's something we've heard from our teachers that they want. So we're looking into it. All right. All right. I see another question along the same line. How do I choose content? You don't. ReadTheory does it for you. So you don't have to worry about that. How do we change a class name? I can show you that. No problem. Let's walk on over here. Let me double check. Yeah, so I can show you that. No problem. It is very easy. You click, you go to the My Classes page. You've decided, I don't want to call this class 1 anymore. You click on it. And now I can say, really best class. And there you go. All set. Easy peasy. Great question. Let's see here. Will the next teacher be able to see the data from the previous year? Yes, absolutely. There's nothing that happens during the changeover between teachers. All existing data is kept there. You can choose to reset it if you want your students to start from the pretest again, get a real sense of where they are at the start of the school year. That's absolutely fine, but we don't delete student data unless a teacher tells us to. All right, another great question here. Do I have to download an app, or can I just log in from the browser? Great question. We are just browser-based, so as long as you have a computer that's capable of viewing this webinar, you're going to be able to use ReadTheory. ReadTheory.org, that is all you need. Great question. In order to use the site, we recommend Google Chrome and high-speed internet access. That's it. All right. Let's see. I see, can there be 2 teachers in one class? Yes, the students would just have to invite the second teacher to view their progress. Great question. Great question. Will there be a follow-up webinar for the use of the program? Yes. Keep an eye on your inbox. I'm going to be looking at, we've got a few webinars planned. One is on a host of digital resources that I think we have planned for next Friday. One is for blended learning, and we've got a whole webinar that we've got planned just for these sorts of Q&As, anything that doesn't get hit in this topic session right here. All right. Oh, this is a great one. When you know a kid tanked their level by just clicking, can you manually adjust their level or delete the tanked test? So no, but you should also know that we have security measures in place for preventing students from being able to go too far down. And so right now, the security measure we have in place is that students can never see a passage that's more than 3 levels below their highest attained passage. So if you have a 6th grader who was seeing 7th or 8th grade text, and then they're like, I'm done, I don't want to see anymore, these are too hard, I'm going to tank it, the lowest they're going to be able to see is 5th grade texts. And so that's a security feature we have in. We're also building in timing issues or time stop gaps, where if we see a student clicking the button too quickly, it'll make them pause. And so they won't be able to as easily and quickly tank a test. That's something that we're hoping to roll out real soon. Great question, great question. All right, so I see some more nuts and bolts here. Are any passages available in Spanish? No, not yet. Sadly, we are English only at the moment. For Google login, does the username have to be the full email? Great question. Yes, it absolutely has to be the full email address with the @ and everything after it. Great question. All right. Will the student count be the same for all classes? They don't have to start at the beginning for each class. I think this question is asking about continuing on. Yeah, if the student wants to continue with one account, they can connect that to multiple teachers, and that data will be available to all the different teachers. Great question. Are there ready-made resources which we can use with children? Now on our website, so our website provides all the reading comprehension materials right there. All the passages and quizzes are assigned automatically, so I would call those ready-made. If you want hard copies of them, we do make many available from our homepage. You can look and browse by grade level. There are some available for free download there. There's always some available within your account. I think we have 12 available each month for download within your account for offline use. And then if you're really like, I want all of these right now to hand out to my students, we have some digital files available for purchase at ReadTheoryWorkbooks.com. Great. I see, can I watch or show this webinar at a later date? Yes, on YouTube, if you type in Read Theory, we'll be publishing this webinar and a link to the actual presentation as well. And you can see some of our other instructional videos there. Great, great. I already have a class and need to get the link. I can see the class code, but what about a class link to share? You got us. We don't have that for you. I'm so sorry, Meg. I'm so sorry. I will. Writing it down. Meg, I'm writing it down for you. Class link for class code. I wrote it down. It's done. All right. We are coming up to the end of our time here, so I'm going to try to hit as many points as I can. So let's see. I see questions. Integration with Canvas. Right now we are standalone, and we don't have any direct partnerships with Canvas or Clever. We're always looking at pursuing these, but a lot of the times, unfortunately, there is a barrier to entry, and it costs a lot of money to get put onto the Clever system. And so, unfortunately, that might not be one that you see right away. Will Read Theory keep previous data for registered students year to year? Yes, we don't delete data unless somebody tells us to, or you delete it yourself. And you can't do that by accident unless you really ignore warning signs. Do we work with Microsoft Teams? I don't know, and I don't know that we'd be a good fit for that, just because we offer individualized curriculum. So this wouldn't be something that you do in a pull-out small group session that needed teacher-student interaction. It's a great question. All right, is there a way to print out reports separately? Now we're really getting into the nuts and bolts. I love this. That's another feature that we're working at right now. We are a digital enterprise. We have a strong commitment to the environment. We are trying to not waste paper if we can. We understand the realities, but so no, it is a little tricky to print out individual reports. You can't do a bulk report print right now. Great question. Okay, let's see. I'm just looking to see if there's any more questions that I think are really, really important to hit right now. Let's see, is there a way to indicate students or adults so content's topics may adapt? As you can see, our website tries to be pretty neutral. We do this for a host of reasons. Number one, we know we have a lot of adult users. And number two, we know that we have a lot of users who have sensory processing issues. And so we try not to have lots of very kiddie aspects to it. There is no way to adapt the content so it's directly focused towards adults. If they're at a low reading level, they'll see low reading level texts, but we try to make sure that our content is engaging at all levels. So once you hit the third grade on our site, the topics and articles should really be appropriate for all ages. All right. Oh, this is a great question, and I'm about to close out our Q&A time, and I apologize if you have unanswered questions. Shoot me an email at support@readtheory.org, but I'm also very aware of everyone's time here. I teach grade 9. I have done this. Students who are reading at grade 2 or 3. I have done this. If I don't enter a grade, what grade will the reading start at? Great question. All students have to take a pretest when they first log in, and regardless of their grade level, regardless of what you put in that box, that will not affect the pretest or the readings they receive. That's just for our record keeping and to make sure that we're in compliant with all laws. So that really, all students will start the pretest, which starts at the 3rd grade by default. If they miss a question on that 3rd grade, they'll be bumped down to lower. If they get that first question right, they'll be bumped up higher. And the test will try to calibrate and find the sweet spot for the students. So all students start at that 3rd grade, regardless of whether or not you're a 1st grade or a 12th grade marked on the class. All right. Let's do just a few more here. Are the articles a mix of fiction and nonfiction? Yes. We try to emphasize nonfiction because that is the reality of standardized tests, and we like to help teachers and students prepare for those. All right, I think that is really going to be it. I see just a few more questions that I didn't get a chance to answer. The last one that I want to answer, because this is such a good question, and a few people have asked something like it. With learning loss from COVID, with starting over, starting fresh and new, should we have the kids who used it before still start new? So what you can do here, and if you'll bear with me, I'll show you how to do this. You can actually go ahead and reset their progress. They'll keep their knowledge points, which is a tool that we use to motivate students, but their quiz history will disappear and they'll start again from the pretest. And so I'm just going to share my screen real quick to show you what that would look like. On the progress report page, if I decide that I want John Smartbrain and Smartbrain J to go ahead and start over, I can go ahead and click Reset Class Progress. I get a warning, a really big warning. Okay, and this tells me that I'm about to delete all of their data. I deleted it. The next time those students logged in, they would automatically see the pretest just as though they were starting the program for the first time. Okay, and I see there are other questions that people asked about Can they do the pretest each year? If you want to, absolutely, you can do that. Absolutely. The other pretest related question that somebody asked was, can it be paused and resumed at another time? No, you have to complete the pretest in one session. It's a really great, really important question. Okay. Folks, I really, really, really appreciate your coming on today. Just as our final thing here, I want to emphasize ReadTheory is 100% free. It adapts to your students and it provides them with excellent high quality reading comprehension practice. Okay. If you need help, contact me, support@readtheory.org. I'll answer that email lickety split. And then the last thing, and this is our before you click the leave button, please tell your friends about us. We're a free resource, we're a small company, and we want to make sure that other people learn about us so that we can continue to offer this. And you know, I've mentioned we're at Twitter at ReadTheory. Please, if you're on Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, any local Edmodo groups, please go ahead and make sure that other people know about this resource, because we want to make sure we can continue to offer it forever for everyone who wants it. Okay, really, really appreciate it. And I hope you'll join us for another webinar that we're hosting throughout this month. All right, thank you all, thank you all, thank you all, and have yourself a wonderful start to the school year. Bye-bye.